you have your Bible, turn to Matthew chapter 4, start with verse 19 to 20. Don't go there yet. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background before we go there. But I want you to turn to your favorite neighbor and say, never again. That wasn't your favorite neighbor. Turn to your favorite neighbor and say, never again. Never again. Because I want to talk to you just a little bit about this y'all stop. This morning about never again. I said turn, I mean, oh, okay. And so, never again. Nothing's ever going to happen to me like this ever again. Never again. I'm not going to do this like I've always done before. Never again. I'm not going to be defeated over the same things again and again. Never again. I'm not going to question my calling ever again. Never again. I'm not going to ask whether I've been chosen or called. Never again. Because I'm going to talk to you in just a few minutes this morning about the subject, never again. Peter was called, Matthew 4, 19 and 20. Peter was called by Jesus. Yeah. And I got to hurry up because I got a lot to say and I got 35 minutes to do it. And he said unto them, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and they did what? Followed him. Go back to 19. And he saith unto them, who's them? The disciples. Follow me. Who said it? Jesus said it. Follow me. Who are they following? Jesus. And I will make you fishers of men. Verse 20. And they straightway left their nets and followed him. Not after they discussed it, not after they had a discussion about it, but they straightway left their nets and followed him. Bow your head with me, please. Father, help me one more time to preach your gospel. Help me one more time to be the best I can be for you. Help me one more time to get across the message that you've laid in my heart. God, I ask you to help me to do this thing in your name, and by your power, by your spirit, by your anointing, by your glory. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. And everybody said? Amen. Amen. If you guys will listen fast, I'll get you out fast. If you listen slow, I'll get you out slow. So that's just how it goes. But Peter was called by Jesus. Peter was called in Matthew 4, chapter 19 and 20. Now, if anybody was writing a Bible now, they were going through your life, and say, for example, I don't know, Mitzi was writing Mitzi chapter 1, verse 2. Okay? And she's writing down your life and the stories of your life. And she's writing down all these things down. I don't know when you were called. I don't know if you were called in chapter 4. I don't know if you're called in chapter 12. I don't know if you're called in any chapter. But whatever it is, when Mitzi writes it down, it doesn't matter what chapter it is and what verse it is. It matters whether or not you were called. Are you called? Are you called? Many are. You are. Thank you. I thought it was the right church. That's right. All right. So many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called. We're all called to do something for God. Amen. I don't care what it is. I don't care where you're coming from. Listen, I don't care if you come from California like I did and transplanted into Oklahoma. I don't care if maybe you're from New York and you're transplanted here. I don't know. Maybe you're from the south and you've got planted in the west. I don't know where you're from. It doesn't matter where you're from. It matters if you're called. Amen. Are you called to do what God's called you to do? So Peter was called in Matthew 4, chapter 19 and 20. Chapter 4, verse 19 and 20. He was called to come after Jesus. Yeah. Now, I am a very staunch believer in that God calls those and then He qualifies those He's called. Amen. If you're waiting to be ready to be called, you'll never be called. That's right. You're never ready. Come on. You're never ready. You never had all your ducks in a row. That's right. You never have everything ready to go. You never have all your money that you need to do it. If we waited to have money to have children, but none of us have children. Preacher on preacher, believe it will. If you're waiting to save money to have this perfect little life, you're never going to have this perfect little life because you're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have enough of everything you need before you start doing something. And the same thing happens with God. He calls you, and then you get out there in the water, and then He says, okay, take another step. Okay, take another step. Well, I don't see anything to step one. That's good, because now you're walking by faith and not by sight. And so now you have to step out on something you never have seen before, and you're someplace you never have gone before, and you're in a depth that you've never been before. But all you have to know is that I'm called. I was going to use this verse, and I didn't. You can look it up later where Jesus called Peter out of the boat. He said, come. Jesus, if it be you, call me. And He said, well, come on. Come on. And He stepped out on the water. I didn't use it. You guys can look it up because I want you guys to do some homework. But whenever you step out on the water, you may not be able to see where you're stepping. And you may not, and physically you think, I'm stepping on water, I'm going to drown. But no, what's going to happen is that you step out on what Jesus said come out on, and you begin to step by faith. He was called to come after Jesus. He walked with Jesus, not only on the water, but on the dry ground. He walked with Jesus. Now, how many of you today are called by God? Can I see a hand? You think that you're really called by God? Okay. It's okay if you don't think you are yet. Okay. You're called by God to do something by, because many are called and few are chosen. Okay. And so, but if you really feel like you have a call in your life, that's a great thing. However, the responsibility of the calling falls on you. Okay. All right. Let me just, how can I help this? The responsibility falls on you to go out and step out of the boat and what Jesus has called you to do. The responsibility is on you to step out and follow Jesus and be called one of the sons of thunder. The responsibility falls on you to go to the Garden of Gethsemane and pray and maybe not fall asleep. Anyway, but the responsibility falls upon you to follow Jesus into the house and tell everybody else to leave and go into the damsels raised from the dead. The responsibility falls on you what you do with your calling. That's right. The calling is many are called and few are chosen, because many hear the call of God but few choose to follow God. Amen. Help me just a little bit. Many are called to follow Him but few choose their calling because it's hard. Can I just tell you that being a pastor of a church is the hardest thing I've ever done? It's been the hardest thing on my family. It's been the hardest thing on me personally and physically, spiritually, and emotionally. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's been the greatest reward I've ever had. Amen. Because I get to be that guy. And think about this. I get to be the guy that when kids come in the world, I'm there. I get to be part of that. Amen. When they're saved, I get to be part of that. When they are dedicated to the Lord, I get to be part of that. When they pass away and their family passes away, I get to be part of that. From the time of their birth to the time of their death, I get to be part of that. Is that not the coolest thing in the world? Yeah. That is a great reward, because God has chosen, God has called me, and I've chosen to follow after Him, the things that He asked me to do. And let me just share with you just a second. It's not always easy to follow the call. Come on. You know what's the easy thing for me to do? Would be to resign and just go sell tortillas. I could do that tomorrow. And I can make a lot of money selling tortillas because I'm good at it. That's not bragging, that's just the truth. I know how I can do that. I know how to do that. Retail's my thing, man. I've done it all my life. I know how to do it. And so I'm just letting you understand that God is able to bless me in other areas, but am I really going to fulfill the call of God by selling tortillas? I think not. That makes my stomach hurt to even think about that. Come on. Yeah. Make my baby foot kid. Just think about it. I just want you to understand that God has chosen me, man, to do some greater things than just to simply hang out. Just to simply be there. Just to simply exist. I'm not called just to exist, and neither are you. I'm not called just to suck up air that somebody else could be breathing. I'm called to do what God's called me to do. I'm called to be a blessing to this planet. I'm called to be a world changer and an earth shaker. That's what I'm called to be. That's what I'm called to be. I know what my calling is. I know what God's called me to do, and I know where God's called me to be, and I understand that. But it's still not. This still doesn't make it any easier. It's still the hardest thing I've ever done. It's still the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It's still the hardest thing I've ever attempted to do. And I try to do my very best at doing it, and it's still hard. But Peter was called in Matthew 4:19 and 20. He was called to come after Jesus, and he did. He walked with Jesus not only on the water, but he also walked with Jesus physically. He walked with Jesus spiritually, and he walked with him in all things of his life, all facets of his life. He stayed with Jesus in the garden. Now we could dog Peter for all these things that he did, and we could dog him for, we'll get into it in just a minute, but Jesus, he slept, he got 3 good hours of sleep while Jesus was praying. Come on now. He got a good 3 in. But he still was there. He still had hung with Jesus all this time. He stayed with Jesus in the garden. He slept, but at least he was hanging out with Jesus. He was still there. He was one of the sons of thunder. Come on now. Man. I don't know about you, but when you're called the son of thunder in the Bible, you're a pretty bad dude, man. You're a pretty bad guy. You're able to, I mean bad by a good thing. Okay? He's a man's man. He's not just, some little, hallelujah. No, he was a man's man. He was awesome in what he did. He was one of the top 3. He was in Jesus' inner circle. He knew Jesus better than the other 8. 9. He knew Jesus more than that. He was called to go up to the Mount of Transfiguration. It was always Peter, James, and John. Why always Peter, James, and John? I don't know. But it was always Peter, James, and John. That's right. They were out of the deep blue sea. Listen, they were called to be something different than just simply people that follow some dude in sandals and a robe. They were called to be something greater. So never again will he ever be anything other than Peter, called by Jesus. He was called by Jesus. He was called to be a world changer. What are you called to be today? Grayson, what are you called to be? You're called to be a world changer. You're not called to just be Grayson and go to Varnum and hang out. You're looking good for the ladies. I know how it is. Listen, I know how it goes. Listen, I know how that is. Don't get all red on me now. But listen, I was in high school. What's up? Okay, so understand this. What are you called to be? You're called to be a world changer. How do you know that, Brother Jeff? This is how I know that. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Baptize them in the name of Jesus and getting them right with God. Come on, help me just a minute. And I promise you, when you preach the gospel, it's going to change the world. But if we have to preach the gospel, listen, I didn't say get a Bible and sit on the corner and tell everybody they're going to hell. That's not what I said. Preach the gospel with your life. Preach the gospel with how you live your life. Preach the gospel what's going on in your life. Preach the gospel how you react to things. Preach the gospel every day, everything that you do. Preach the gospel. Well, how come you're so different? How come you're not worried? Why should I worry? Amen. Be anxious for nothing. That's right. Amen. It doesn't mean I can't ever be anxious and feel the anxiety, but what it means is I shouldn't let the anxiety control my life. Well, I'm preaching to myself hard this morning. But Peter denies Jesus in Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26, verse 69 through 75. I remember reading Matthew when I was a kid, and I hated reading verse 26. Chapter 26. Because it was so long. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the only sinner. When we had to read chapters, did y'all ever go to church? Okay. And so we had to read chapters, and we had to do that. I hated it because I'd go. Now let me ask you guys: did you guys really do this? I did this. Did you look at it and go, man, there's 75 verses in that. Nobody ever did that but me. All right. The rest of y'all lying. Okay, here we go. 69. Now Peter sat without the palace, and the damsel came to him, saying, "Thou wast the Jesus of Galilee." But he denied before them all, saying, "I know not what you sayest." And when he was gone out into a court, another maid saw him and said unto him that were there, "This fellow was also a Jesus of Nazareth." And again he denied, and with an oath, "I do not know the man." 73. And after a while came to him that stood by and said to Peter, "Surely thou art one of them, for thy speech betrayeth thee." So I got to change my speech, right? Verse 34. 34. Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, "I know not the man." I said, immediately the cock crew. I'll get out in a minute. Y'all the cock? It is whatever. Okay. And so the cock crew. Now Peter, whatever. Go back. See these two words right there? That's what it did. Okay. Leave me alone. All right, 75. And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which said unto him before the... Thank you. "Thou shalt deny me thrice." And he went out and wept bitterly. Now, I'm doing my best. All right, here we go. Peter denied Jesus. Now I'm going to ask a question of you, if I can get it out of my mouth. Have you ever been guilty of denying Jesus? And I know you guys didn't. You guys looked for the longest verse chapters to read. I know you guys did that, and so I'm sure you didn't deny Jesus. But I always, tried to, I'm looking for Jesus wept. So I can say I read a verse. And so I'm looking to get to Psalms so I can read a chapter. Come on, help me now. And but how many of you guys have ever denied Jesus? Don't raise your hand, please. We've denied him. Because we tried to blend in. We tried to be like everybody else. And just being a Christian doesn't mean you have to be weird. We're in the world, we're not of the world, right? But no, it's chocolate cold. No, you're not. So listen, hear me. We've all denied him in our actions. We've denied him in our words. We've denied him in our speech. We've denied in our lives. We've denied Jesus somehow, some way. We've all stood there and a spiritual rooster crowed. There you go in your face. A rooster crowed. Okay, a spiritual rooster crowed, and we were like, "Wait a minute, something's not right in my life." We've all done it. I know you spiritual people that look for the long verses to read. I know you did, but I have. Okay, and so when he was recognized and identified as a Christian, he tried to blend into the crowd. Have we ever tried to blend? Yeah, we have. We all have.
Yes, I may.
We've not spoken up when somebody said something that was off. We've not lived a life according to what God would really have us live because we've kind of denied Christ in our areas of our life. Say, for example, we, I don't know, get whatever, fill in the blank. We've all done something that wasn't godly, and we've all tried to hide it in the crowd because it's easier to blend into the crowd than to be recognized as a follower of Jesus. Yes, it is, Brother Jeff. I know. I know. I know it's easier to blend in and say, I don't know Jesus. We may not say it with our words, but we say it with our actions. And so it's easier to do that because now we're not sitting out there on our own. We feel like we're on our own, out there on an island, waiting for Hurricane Irma to wipe us out because we're afraid that they're going to come and get us. Because we've actually said that we are a Christian, or we are a Christian, and we're a Christ-like. And so now we're sitting out there on an island because, I don't know if you know this or not, but most of the time when you pronounce to be a Christian, you feel like you're all alone. Right. Amen? Maybe not in the church so much, but in our lives. In our lives we feel so much like we're on our own. But Peter, can you imagine now, I just want you guys to think about this. I want you to put yourself in the story. Peter goes and Jesus said, you guys be three, come with me, and we're going to go pray. And they fell asleep. So number one, you felt like you let Jesus down. Right. Number two, they come and they take him. And one of your own kisses him and betrays him. Yeah. And you're looking and you're watching that. So much so that you pull a sword out and you try to cut his head off, but he ducked and cut his ear off.
Come on.
Because you're so angry about the situation. Number two, you feel like you let Jesus down because Jesus rebuked him and said, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. Jesus picks up dude's ear, heals him in the name of, okay? Sticks it back on his head. So you know he's the Son of God. And you know you've let him down in two areas. So now you run because you feel like the soldiers are going to come and get you. So now you run, and so now here you are, you're hiding out because you're kind of watching to see what's going on, but you don't really want anybody to recognize you, but your speech gives you away because you say stuff like, covered in the blood, or I'm saved, or filled with the Holy Ghost, and your speech betrays you because you speak Christianese, because you've heard me talk to you so much about stuff, and now it's in your head, you can't get it out. Sorry, I'm there for your lifetime, sorry. And so you're there, and so now your speech betrays you, and you're still trying to blend into the background because when everybody else is talking about stuff that they don't need to be talking about, and you're not participating, your speech betrays you because you're silent instead of participating in the. Now help me now. I know I'm right.
Amen.
I know I'm right. And when he was recognized and identified as a Christian, Peter denied Jesus. Because he just wanted to blend into the crowd. He just wanted to see what was going to really happen. His speech betrayed who he was. So in verse 74, he had to change his speech. He began to curse and to swear. Because Surely nobody that was hanging out with Jesus was cursing and swearing. So I have to change my speech so that way it'll get the spotlight off of me, because I'll show that I'm like everybody else. Preacher, oh preacher, I am. Listen, because if I show like I'm everybody else, then I can just kind of be an undercover agent for God. I can be a double knot spy for God, right? I mean, I can just hang out, just be what I need to be, and not ever bother anybody. Nobody bothers me. I'll just go to church, and I'll come home, and I'll die and get laid in a nice soft casket, and nobody will ever know I was a Christian. They'll say some nice words over me, but I don't want to stir the pot. You don't get that choice. I'm sorry, when you're a Christian, you don't get that choice. You have to stir the pot by just saying yes to Jesus. The pot's stirred. The pot is stirred, and I mean a pot, not... Okay, so... Okay, some of y'all are like, yeah. No, but listen. The cooking utensil is stirred, okay? And so, but Peter denied Jesus. His speech betrayed him. So he had to change his speech. And I'm not just talking about speaking out of your mouth. I'm talking about lifestyle change. Have you ever changed your lifestyle to fit into the crowd? Have you ever just tried to be a chameleon? And whoever you're with, that's who you're with. And that's how you act. Oh, come on, Jesus, help me a minute. In Mark chapter 16 and 7. Mark chapter 16 and 7. I'm trying to hurry. I got a lot to say and a little bit of time to say it. Mark chapter 16 and 7. But go your way and tell his disciples of Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. There you shall see him, as he said unto you. Peter's called again. He was called to come follow Jesus. And he immediately went and followed him. He denied it. The rooster crowed. He went out and wept bitterly, feeling so bad about what he had done. He knew that Jesus had told him before, you're going to do this, and the rooster's going to crow. And now all of a sudden, he finds that he's done it. He goes out and weeps bitterly and pours his heart out. Because he's so devastated about what he'd done. And I love this in Mark chapter 16. Jesus says to go tell the disciples and Peter. He's the only disciple he named by name. The only one. And I know I've spoken about this before, but I want to get into your spirit. When you feel like that you've let God down you're the worst of the worst, he'll call you by name. When you feel like you've done the worst possible job ever of following Christ, he'll call you by name. Because he knows you, and he knows you by name. And he understands that you're human and you do dumb things. And he understands that sometimes we feel like God doesn't love us anymore because we've done something stupid. But can I tell you just for a second, just because you've done something stupid doesn't mean that God forgot your name. Just because you fulfilled the prophecy doesn't mean that God has forgotten your name. Just because you feel like you can't ever do anything for God again because I've done the worst thing I've ever done. I've done whatever you fill in the blank. I've done the worst thing I can do. Go tell the church and Peter. Go tell the church and Jeff. Go tell him you go tell somebody and you go tell Jeff that I want to talk to him and I'll see him in Galilee. And he said, okay. And so he goes again. And so again he's called to tell the disciples and Peter. Tell Peter that I've raised from the dead, and it's true. Tell Peter, who was wondering if I can ever be used of him again, I've risen. Go tell Peter that something in the world is changing, and I need him to change it. Somebody help me get some this morning. I just want you to understand that Peter was called for the second time. God doesn't give up on you because you messed up one time. God doesn't give up on you because you feel like you've let God down. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. You can't let God down because you what? You don't hold God up.
That's right.
So you can't let God down. Can we do something stupid? Oh my God, yes, we can do something stupid. Listen, half of you did something stupid getting here today. You got to fight the car on the way to church this morning. We got quiet, didn't we? You got quiet. I don't know why you have to listen to Caleb just on Sunday morning. You don't touch a white man's radio. Okay, listen. And so, listen. Sometimes we do something stupid. We sin and do things. So we gave you an opportunity to give today. Some of you sinned in the offering. So you don't want none of this. Okay, anyway. So in John chapter 21, verse 3. John 21, 3. Y'all get anything out of this? I hope you get something. I hope so. Simon Peter says to them, I go a-fishing. I'm done with this. I'm done. And they said to him, we also go with you. We're done too. Now, I've been to church a long time. And I've heard some stupid statements made in church. I probably said one of them too. I don't even care. I'm done. I don't even care. Yes, you do. You're just frustrated. You're just frustrated, and yes, you do care. They said, and they went forth and entered their ship, and immediately at that night they caught nothing. Verse 4. When the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, and the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. Keep on. And Jesus said to them, children, have you any meat? And they answered, no. He said, and they cast them down to the other side of the ship, and ye shall find. And they cast therefore not thou. And now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes. Therefore that disciple whom Jesus loved said unto Peter, it's the Lord. Now the Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord. He girded his fisher's coat, for he was naked, and did cast himself into the sea. I always wondered, that's kind of weird, we fish naked, but whatever. Okay. I don't know. I always thought it was weird. But anyway. And the other disciples came in the little ship, for they were not far from the land, but as it were 200 cubits, dragging the net with fishes. Verse 9, and I'll quit. As soon as they came to land, they saw a fire, the coals there, and the fish lay thereon, and bread. Now listen. They went fishing, and Jesus shows up. Just when you feel like you've had enough, just like you feel like you can't go on, or you go back to fishing, Jesus shows up.
Amen.
Just when you feel like you're ready to quit, go back to your old life, just when you're ready to just throw in the towel, you may not recognize this Jesus, but Jesus will holler at you, hey, I got any fish?
Amen.
He's like, no. That's what he said. Fished all night, and they caught no fishes, right? They fished all night, and they caught no fishes out on the deep blue sea. Amen?
Amen.
Then he said on the other side, he said, throw your net on the other side. Put yourself in the story. What would you do? How about you throw the net on the other side? Because they know it's Jesus. Right? But they did it. And Jesus had a multitude of fishes waiting for him on the other side. And I've preached this 100 times, and I'll preach it again some other day. But until we fish where Jesus says fish, we'll never have the multitude of people that God has called us to have.
Amen.
Until we fish how Jesus told us to fish and where Jesus told us to fish, we can have church all we want to have church and do all the things that we want to do, but until we cast the net on the other side. Because Jesus has already set up the fish. Because he said he'd make us fishers of what? He'd make us fishers of him, right? And so we're supposed to fish on the side that Jesus says to fish on, correct?
Amen.
And until we do that, we'll always fish all night long and be frustrated. And Jesus is always like, throw it down on the other side. And the church says, no, you throw it down on the other side.
Come on, let's start preaching.
It's true.
That's what. Amen.
We go fishing. Jesus shows up. And I love this. John 15 through 17. 21, 15 through 17. They're laying there. And figure out it's Jesus. Nobody wants to ask because they all know they should have known, but nobody wants to ask. The disciples were like, I'm not going to ask him, are you Jesus? Because I know he's Jesus, but I don't even think I'm stupid. So they didn't ask. And so then they started, when they had dined, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord. Thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lambs. 16. He said to him again, the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Yea, Lord. Thou knowest I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my sheep. Verse 17. He said to him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said it the third time, You know I love you. Lovest thou me? He said, You know I love you, Lord. You know this. And you know us, I love you above all these things. Jesus said unto him, Feed my sheep. Time out. This is the third time Peter was called by Jesus, and he says it 3 times. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Amen.
Come on. Third time he's called. Third time. And he told him 3 times. Twice, once to feed his lambs, twice to feed his sheep. He was called, and even though he had said, I'm going a-fishing, and taken some other people with him, the disciples with him, Jesus still had a call on his life, regardless of what he thought was going on in his life. Okay, you with me? All right. Hang with me, I'm not done. John writes the story of Peter. And I love John's writing, and John is probably my favorite gospel. I don't know why, it just is. I love how John is comfortable in himself, that he's the disciple that Jesus loved. I love that. That he's just comfortable knowing that the other guys were okay, but he loved me. I love that. I love how he writes in there that he beat Peter to the tomb. I think that's cool. He made a note that he beat Peter to the tomb. I don't know for sure, but it seems like there's a little rivalry going on there. And I love that because it's human and it's real. And I think it's cool. I love that he put in there that the disciple that laid against Jesus' breast at the Last Supper. I think that's cool. That he just lets everybody know that those guys were okay, but me and Jesus were tight. You know? I love that. And I love how John writes and tells exactly what happened and how Peter got mad. And Peter said, You know I love you. Why do you keep asking me the same question? So can I ask you a question, and I'll leave you alone here in just a minute. If you know that you love God, and you know the calling that God's placed on your life, why have you not chosen to follow after the calling? Why is it that it's easier to sit by the fire and fish all night and catch no fish,
Come on.
instead of throwing the net on the other side where Jesus said, Hey, throw the net on the other side. Okay. Splash. And they did it. And all of a sudden, and there's another, in the Gospels, there's another account of this where other little ships had to come and help them because the weight of the fish was so great, it was about to sink the ship. And that's, can I just put it into church mode? We're not the only church catching fish. Somebody help me with that. And other churches need help too. And so whenever we get a cross in our spirit that, hey, maybe we need to cast the net on the other side, and there's a great multitude of fish that are waiting to be caught,
Come on.
then we'll have to have everybody get in. No, I know that's horrible. I know that's horrible to have to think about having to work with another church. That's awful, isn't it? Oh, because after all, we're the only 120 going there, or 60, whatever, going to heaven, right? And so listen. I want you to understand that it takes a group of people to catch the multitude of fishes that are coming. Okay, now, here we go. Can I have 5 minutes? I'm taking 10, so I'm taking 5. Here, listen, from that point on, never again. Never again did Peter question his calling.
Amen.
Never again. Never again did he try to blend in. Never again did he curse and say, I don't know this man. Never again did he hang out and say, well, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if I'm supposed to be a fisherman or if I'm supposed to be a follower of Christ. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Never again did he stray from being the apostle, from being the apostle Peter. He never again strayed. Never again. You didn't look at your neighbor and say, never again. Never again did he go fishing. Never again did he do this thing. Never again did he ever deem himself to be not worthy.
Come on.
Christians, listen to me. Please hear me. You are not worthy in yourself, but through God you are Worthy.
Amen.
You are worthy and you are expected to do greater than you've ever done in your life. He never again denied Jesus. He never again stopped fishing for men. His entire life he continued to fish for men because he knew that he had been called to do what? Be a
Amen.
and his whole life, he spent the rest of his life fishing for men.
Amen.
Never again did he deny who he was. Never again did he deny his calling. Never again did he deny he was the chosen. Never again did he say, I don't really want to do this. I'm going fishing. So my question to the church today, when is never again going to come into your vocabulary? When is never again? Listen, never again am I falling for her. Never again am I falling for him. Never again am I denying Jesus. Never again am I doing the drugs that I've been doing. Never again am I getting drunk. Never again am I doing the alcohol, the pills, the drugs. Never again I'm going to do what God's called me because I'm not ever going to go back to that. I'm not going fishing. When is it going to be? That's enough of God. He never stopped fishing for men. He never stopped preaching. He never again did what Peter of old did. He went and did what Jesus had called him to do. Never again did Peter have to be called or chosen. You can't find another time when he was ever called. He knew what he was supposed to do. He knew how he was supposed to do it, and he knew when he was supposed to do it. And he died doing what God had called him to do. He died being crucified upside down because he said, I'm not worthy to be crucified like my Savior, and they crucified him upside down. You'll go to a Catholic church, St. Peter's, in Colgate. There's upside down crosses, which is kind of creepy. But well, it is. And because it's named after Peter, and he was crucified upside down. It's nuts. Are you that dedicated? Am I that dedicated? No. Can I just be honest? Probably not. I'm sorry to be transparent and be truthful. I know, listen, here, go find a scripture that has 97 verses in it, read it, you'll feel better about yourself. Okay, listen. I don't think there's anybody sitting here right now, I'm not, that would be honest and say, I live my life like Peter lived his life. Nah. Now, if I ever met the road, deny Christ or die, I'd die. I would. I know in my spirit that I just have to die. Because I'm never denying who Christ is. Never again am I going to be chosen. Never again am I going to be called. I know what my calling is, and I choose to follow it. Never again does God have to knock on my door and say, hey buddy, you love me? Yeah, I love you. Feed my lambs, I'm trying. Hey buddy, you love me? Yeah, feed my sheep. Trying. So I'm not going to go. Come on. Never again. Never again. I mean, greatest of all time. Listen. Never again will you ever have to be called and chosen when you finally decide. Never again. Yes. Never again am I going to go back to what I used to be. Never again. See, the problem with that is that we have the Hansel and Gretel disease. Come on. We want to leave breadcrumbs just in case we can't find our way out. What happens if we get too much in God? Well, if you leave some breadcrumbs, then you can find your way back out. What happens if it gets uncomfortable? I can find my way out. What happens if it gets to be just a little too much? Well, I can still find my way out. So if we can stay on the outside, and just, get a little contact high, feel a little goosebump when the Holy Ghost is moving, that's good enough, right? No, it's not, because you'll never really know if you're chosen, you never know if you're called, because you don't really sell out. What do you mean by sell out? That's another Christianese word, isn't it?
Come on.
Okay. And so that's another Christianese word. It just means, are you fully devoted? Are you fully giving everything you have? Are you fully giving your life? Are you really ready to say never again? Never again to the devil. Never again to what I used to be. I don't know about you. You guys are probably all good. But there's some things in my life I don't ever want to go back to.
Amen.
You may have all had a wonderful time and tiptoed through the tulips and there's puppy dogs and rainbows. I don't know. But there's some things in my life I really don't care to go back to. Listen, my life wasn't horrible. I was just lost. Didn't have what I needed.
Come on.
I didn't have them living in my life directly. I was just kind of on the outside looking in. What's that old country song? On the front porch looking in? Something I heard a commercial with somebody singing that. That's it. Whatever. Yeah. Don't stand on the porch of God and look in and say, man, that's where I want to be. Open the screen door, go in. Walk in. I promise you, you'll never regret giving your life to God. You'll never regret it. You'll never regret giving your life and being chosen to follow Him and follow Him. I promise you. Amen. Stand your feet with me.